Well, hi everyone, and welcome to March. Welcome to the March Aging Well. Wherever you are, because we have viewers that tune in everywhere, all over the place. And wherever you are, I hope your weather is as gorgeous as it is here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. If I had to use one word, I would just call today perfection. It has been so beautiful. But again, I hope wherever you are, you're enjoying the day as much as I have. We've got a full show for us tonight, so I want to go ahead and get started. But before I do, I always thank our team: Tom Roth with our CTSI, Courtney Hayes with our Pepper Center on Aging, and Audrey Belfero with our Alzheimer's Disease Research Center. There is no way any of this could ever happen without this team together. So, it's March, and you know what that means. We all become just a tiny bit, maybe even more Irish. And I always got away by not being pinched because I have green eyes. So even if I would forget to wear green on St. Patrick's Day, I could always pull out the green eyes. But to kind of get us in the mood for something a little bit Irish, my sweet husband, Don McClain, he is now a professor emeritus, which means he's retired from his function, his duties, his responsibilities at Wake Forest School of Medicine. But nonetheless, he's not retired from being the best partner and compatriot in the world, and someone who's always willing to jump in. We get so many requests for Don to do his cooking segments because people say, this is something we truly can do in our own kitchen. So for tonight, he's doing a shepherd pie, but a healthy version of shepherd pie. So I hope you enjoy it, and I promise you it was very delicious.
Well, welcome to Aging Well. I'm happy to be here again, cooking something up from my little own home kitchen and supporting the Aging Well programs and Deb. So tonight we're going to do, in honor of upcoming St. Patrick's Day next week, we're going to be doing shepherd's pie, which is a kind of Irish or English countryside version of comfort food for that. And this was, it's a long-term recipe. It involves, in the original version, mashed potatoes on top. And the reason potatoes, of course, Ireland was dependent on potatoes because it's really hard to find a crop that gives you more calories per acre than potatoes. And so, of course, if to supply the energy needs of the oppressed population of Ireland at the time, potatoes were a good idea. But it's not, it's a theme that's repeated over and over and over. In Ireland, or in the English countryside, it would largely be used to use up that precious piece of meat that you bought 3 or 4 days ago and maybe had a meat stew one night and then the meat broth the other night, and then this might be the leftover boiled meat that you had cut up. More modern versions would have us be using ground meat. And because it's shepherd's pie, you might guess that the usual meat in Ireland would have been lamb or mutton. So tonight we're going to try to make it a little healthier, but you can adjust the recipe as you feel, because we're going to make the topping, which is, like I said, traditionally mashed potatoes, out of half mashed potatoes and half mashed cauliflower. If you want to go whole hog, you can make it either all potatoes if you're a traditionalist, or all cauliflower if you're interested in that. So for the cauliflower, I'm just going to, trim. I bought a whole head here. Again, if for ease, and that's what this is all about. This is comfort food. Make something that doesn't take 3 hours. For ease, you can buy now in the grocery stores pre-cleaned, pre-cut cauliflower, and that would work fine. But I'm going to go on and cut the head myself, and so I'm just going to cut this into pieces that don't need to be super small. We're just going to boil them. And we're going to boil them with a potato that I'll peel and we can throw in the pot also. And just want to boil them until they're tender. Okay, well, we got our potatoes and cauliflower boiling away, and while that happens, we can go on and start in the meat. Like I said, we're going to assemble this and then bake it, and we're going to bake it in a 400-degree oven. So I'm going to go on and preheat now, then you put it all together. So it's going to get a good heating together at the end by itself. So now for the filling, again, there are a million ways to do this. You can do whatever you want. I'm going to use tonight a meat alternative, Impossible beef, which is, I think, really, really good. We've made meatballs of it, meatloaf, hamburgers. But we're going to start with sauteing our vegetables. And I'm going to put a little olive oil in a pot here. You can see we use a lot of olive oil around here. And I'm going to heat that little bit of olive oil. And then I have chopped a pretty good sized carrot, stalk of celery, and a kind of medium white onion. And we're just going to saute that until it's softened. So I'll let the oil heat up a little bit and then put it in. Now after that, you don't want to overcook garlic because it can get bitter. So I'm going to go on and prep the garlic. Now, fresh garlic is just, in my mind, so much superior, and it's really easy to prep. What you need to do, of course, is take the papery wrapping off, and the easy way to do that is just crush it with the heel of your hand and a good flat knife, and then the papery part pops right off. And then I will chop that while I'm waiting for that oil to heat a little bit. I'm a diabetes doctor, and most of my medical practice now is at the VA, and I'm just so encouraged by the uptake of healthy lifestyles and on what that has done for people's diabetes. And it is this kind of recipe will help quite a bit anybody with diabetes control their blood sugar. The cauliflower has a lot less available carbs than do the potatoes. We're going to do a mix, but like I said, it is really good just with cauliflower mash rather than a mixed mash of potatoes like I'm doing. Okay. So the oil is heating up, so I'm going to put in the veggies. And we're just going to cook those until they're softened a little bit, because we're going to be cooking this all again in the oven. So those are just going to saute gently while we wait for the cauliflower and potatoes to cook. The recipe is also going to take some broth. This can be any kind of broth you want. It could be chicken broth or canned or boxed chicken or beef broth. I really like these. This is a little product, and I don't get paid by these people, called Better Than Bouillon. And it's the reason I like it is because you can take as much as you need, put it back in the fridge, and it essentially lasts forever. It's about a teaspoon per cup. And we're going to need about a cup, so I'm just going to take a teaspoon and mix it in here. And this is vegetable based, but they have beef, chicken, and so on as well. And I'm just going to stir that till it's softened. So the Vegetables, carrots, celery, and onions have now softened a bit. And what we're going to do is add our protein. We actually use a beef substitute, but you could also use, if you wanted turkey, almost anything would work. You just want a protein base in there to help you out. And I'm just going to throw this into the pan. I'm going to push aside the veggies. And put this into brown. Okay, so the meat is browned and broken up, as you can see, with the nicely softened veggies in there. And because you're going to be adding some broth and you want to make a nice gravy, you need to thicken a little bit. So I'm going to add a tablespoon or so of flour in there. And this would be a nice time to also add the salt and pepper, a little to taste. Don't overdo it, especially if you got blood pressure or heart problems. And then some pepper, and also the garlic that I previously chopped. And so we're going to let that just cook a minute or two while the raw taste of the flour gets kind of cooked away. And then we're going to add just a little bit of tomato paste. I really like these little tubes because it'll last forever. You can put it in the fridge. You don't have to buy one of those little cans and then throw away half of it. So about a tablespoon of tomato paste, and you want to cook that a little bit. It caramelizes it, gives it a little bit more sweetie cooked flavor, and so we'll cook that also. We've cooked the tomatoes and garlic and the flour for a minute or two, and so they're ready, and we're ready to add the broth and some vegetables. I'm going to add just frozen peas. I think frozen peas are really good. They maintain their quality pretty good upon freezing. So I'm going to put about a cup of green peas in there. And the broth that we made. And just let that cook and thicken a little bit. And I've tested the cauliflower and potatoes, and they are done. I'm just going to leave them in the hot water until we're all ready to put things together right at the end. Okay, the broth has, with that flour, has thickened to a very nice gravy, and I'm going to add some seasoning. Thyme and rosemary work well. And I'm actually going to use some a mix of that, about a teaspoon in there, and also maybe a teaspoon or two of Worcestershire sauce. And the cauliflower and potatoes are fork tender, so I've turned them off. And what I'm going to do is just give the gravy, meat, vegetable mix a final stir, and then we'll mash the potatoes and put everything together. Okay, so I've turned the meat mix off. It's nice and thickened, and I'm just going to drain the mix of cauliflower and potatoes. Like I said, traditionally 100% potatoes, super healthy 100% cauliflower, and in our case something in between. And I'll put those back in. And the cauliflower you can treat exactly as you would mashed potatoes. It works very well and very easily. And so what I'm going to do is add a little salt, pepper, and butter to it. Let that mix and then mash it up. Add a little bit of milk, and then we're going to mash. And we're not only going to just mash, we're going to whip. And then that drives air into it, lightens it up, and makes it into just a beautiful, lighter presentation. So in one way is the immersion blender, which will really beat in some air also and get it very smooth. So I'm going to do that on these. So now we have a beautiful puree. It's light. It's got that air beaten into it, and we can assemble the dish. So I've got a baking dish here. It's 11 by 7 or something like that. Whatever will fit however much you're making. And I'm just going to add our really beautiful mix of veggies and gravy and meat here, or non-meat meat. And then I'm going to layer the potatoes on top. And what I'm going to do now is take this beautiful dish and put it into a 400-degree oven for about 15 minutes or so, until the top is nicely browned and the bottom may be bubbling a little bit. So here you have it in one dish, a beautiful presentation of everything you need for a night of supper. Starch, veggies, and protein source, and Tash Nashtabila, which is my butchered way of, in Irish, of saying bon appetit. Thank you.
And again, I can tell you the dish was not just pretty, it was fabulous. It was delicious. I think we had a green salad with it, and it was just wonderful. So y'all know that I'm the luckiest girl alive to be married to Don, because not only is he a great person, he is a fabulous cook. So I am a very, very lucky girl. And so we're going to continue our adventures, and we're going to head over to the campus of Wake Forest University. Because, I mean, I still call us kind of newbies here in Winston. We've been here almost 10 years, but there are so many wonderful things that I'm still discovering, we're still discovering. And one of them is the Timothy Lam Museum of Anthropology. It is phenomenal. And I just stumbled across it, learned about it, and I thought, oh, this is something perfect for Aging Well. So Sara Cromwell is the assistant director of the museum. So she's going to give us a tour up close and personal of just a hint of what they have to show us over there. And the best part is admission is free. There is no reason in the world why you shouldn't go over there and just take advantage of some of these beautiful, beautiful places of interest we have right here in Winston. So Sara, I'm turning it over to you.
Thanks, Deb. Welcome, Aging Well. I'm so happy to talk to you today. My name is Sara Cromwell. I'm the Assistant Director of the Lam Museum of Anthropology at Wake Forest University. The museum was founded in 1963, so if you've been in town for a long time, you might also know us as the Museum of Man or just the Museum of Anthropology. We are on our third name and our fifth location. So we are now located here in Palmer Hall on the Rinalda campus of the university. And we're just here, and I just wanted to point out the Lam family here. The museum was renamed after them in 2021 for a very generous donation. And the family has also donated their collection of ancient Chinese ceramics to the museum as well. So we are doubly grateful to them for both of those gifts. And now I'll show you a little bit more about the museum. So I want to tell you a little bit about the museum generally. We are a teaching museum, and so we work very closely with Wake Forest students who curate most of our exhibits. We have a collection of more than 30,000 objects from more than 90 countries and more than 350 cultures. Because of that, we often rotate our exhibits more frequently than most museums do. So here you can see all the current countries represented in our exhibits, but we have 3 changing exhibits right now. Sometimes it's 4. We have a very flexible format, and we also want to make sure we're showcasing all of those different collections. So exhibits might last anywhere from 3 months to a year long, and then they'll change again. So we're going to take a look at some of those exhibits. The Anthropology Museum was founded by faculty in the Department of Anthropology here at Wake Forest as a place for their collections that they brought back from field work abroad, and it's grown exponentially since then. So we now take donations of objects from all over the world, from all different types of people, other faculty, Wake Forest students, alumni, and community members here in Winston-Salem, in the Triad, and also all across the country who find us. We're the only museum that focuses on global cultures in North Carolina, and so that makes us a little bit unique and a great repository for all of these objects. All right, so our first exhibit we're going to talk about is simply called Home. This was curated by first semester students, so new to Wake Forest. And Wake Forest has a program called First Year Seminar. So these are usually interdisciplinary classes. So this was taught by our academic director, Dr. Andrew Gerstel. And the goal was to create an exhibit. So this is the first time we've worked with students who are brand new to Wake Forest to do that type of project. And they were given basically free rein. To narrow down a topic, to choose the objects, to do the research. All of that was done by the students. And since they were, many of them away from home for a long period of time, that was a theme that really resonated to them, and so that's what they chose. So this exhibit features objects that connect to that idea in some way. And so it's a little bit organized as you would go through a house. We have a front door. We have things that are more associated with like a bedroom or a foyer or things like that. And it's taking objects from all over the world. As I mentioned, the students did the research. So each individual object is one student's research, and that they distill down to label-sized text to tell us about that object and how it connects to the greater theme of home. And this exhibit will be on display through April 12th. Right, so our first featured object in this exhibit is a door. This is from the Baule people in the Ivory Coast. It has a lot of different symbolism to it. We have our leopard that is symbolizing bravery and protection. We have 2 nature spirits. They appear here in human form, but they can help remove evil spirits. And then we also have a diviner's gong, so that's what these are representing, and that helps with like a spiritual connectedness for the home. So one of the other really interesting things in this exhibit is this lunchbox from Senegal. It is made of recycled materials, so it's lined with comics, and then the outer metal edging is made out of tomato paste cans. And those cans show some colonial connection because they have English, French, and Arabic on the cans. And tomato paste is part of a national dish in Senegal that is made out of rice and fish and vegetables. And so there's a connection to home even though you're bringing your lunch away from there. All right, we're in our next exhibit, which is called Poems Made to Wear, Traditional Colors in East Asia. So this is another example of how students work with the museum. This is one student's project. This was an intern who is particularly interested in our textile collection in East Asian culture, and she was able to put together this exhibit that talks about the different colors and their symbolism, and then connects that to pieces of clothing in our collection that come from both China and Japan. And then we have some other examples of accessories and things like that that add into that interpretation of all of the different colors. All right, so one of my favorite objects in here is this wedding sheet. So it's red. Red is a very celebratory color in China, particularly associated with major life events like weddings. So this would have been a gift, and it has some really wonderful symbolism on it. There is a dragon and a phoenix, and those represent the bride and the groom. And then there are also bats, and that is because bats are sort of like a visual pun, because the word for bat, fu, I'm not pronouncing things as well as I could. I do not speak Chinese, but the word is the same for bat and for like good luck. And so they use bats to represent good luck just because they're homophones for each other. And the embroidery on this is incredible, and so that's my favorite object in here. This exhibit is on display through August 16th, so you have a few more months through the summer to be able to come and see this one. All right, so we are now in our central gallery. This is sort of our biggest exhibit right now, and it's called Museum of World Cultures, Highlights from the UNC Wilmington Collection. So UNC Wilmington had a Museum of World Cultures that has closed, and when they closed, they were looking to give their collection to other museums in the area. And because we're a museum that focuses specifically on world cultures, we accepted about 300 objects from their collection. And so this exhibit features the highlights of those. We wanted to make sure we were exhibiting sort of a diversity of world cultures. So we have objects from Southeast Asia, East Asia, Africa, Indigenous North America, West Asia, Ancient Mediterranean, and the Ancient Americas, all displayed in this exhibit. This is also student curated in terms of each one of these objects has a label that was written by a student. So it is a couple of different classes and then interns and some volunteers, all of whom contributed to this exhibit. So this is really sort of all of our work coming together to highlight these wonderful objects. And this exhibit is up for a full year, so it will not close until February 14th of 2026. All right, this section of the exhibit focuses on West Asia. So one of the interesting pieces in here is a horse bit. This is from Luristan, which is a mountainous region in western Iran. And they made a wide variety of bronze objects. We're talking about the 1st century BCE. So this is an archaeological piece. And it's interesting because of this form that's on the front here. This is a scene that's called the Master of Beasts. And so it is sort of a spirit or a sort of a human form, but probably more of like a demon object, but is holding 2 dragons in his hands. And it's very dramatic. So this is showing that this is both a decorative object and a functional object as a horse bit. Right, so this is our section on Indigenous North America. So some of the highlights here are this amazing transformation mask. This is from people of the Northwest Coast. And the outer side of it, if it was closed, it represents a wolf. And then it opens to show the human face inside. So this was used in ceremonial dances in which the dancers are showing both of those aspects of protective spirits. It's done in a formaline style, meaning these bright colors and dark lines that is very specific to Northwest Coast objects. We also have the shield that is from the Minikanju people, who are part of the larger group of the Lakota. The shield provides both physical protection in warfare, but also spiritual protection. The central star is important, and also the zigzags that represent sort of thunder and lightning. The Lakota believed in like a thunder beings that are spiritually protective beings, and that all of that helps contribute to the function of the shield. So it has both dual sides to it. Right. In our Africa section, some of the objects that are really interesting to me are the Maasai beadwork. So the Maasai people of Kenya have been doing this colorful beadwork for over 100 years. The colors are all symbolic, so in addition to being a sort of aesthetic choice, they also have meaning attributed to them about tribal affiliations. For example, the red is for bravery, the blue for energy, green for health, orange for warmth, yellow for fertility, white for purity, and black for unity. So this pair right here, these are like more traditional earrings, but then these are ear flaps or ear pendants that were originally worn for more ceremonial purposes, but tourism in the Maasai region has vastly increased. And so now things like this are made for sale to tourists. And that's something, part of one of the ways that we acquire them, and that the Museum of World Cultures originally required them. Okay, this piece is really spectacular. So this is actually a roof tile. It is part of the ceramic artist. His name is Lin Kuang Yi, and this is part of his warrior riding series. So this is relatively contemporary, but it represents a specific Tang Dynasty general. And so you can tell that from the type of armor and the saddle and things like that that date the figure, even though it's not dating the piece of artwork. As a roof tile, this would be designated for a temple roof to provide spiritual protection, but it's really an incredible piece of ceramic work. So we have a section on the ancient Americas, which features some Maya objects and also some archaeological objects from Peru. The one I want to talk about is this cylinder vase, which is actually probably a cup for drinking chocolate. That was one of the things that came from the New World when Europeans came over. And it's interesting because of the style, where it has this sort of white center band and it has the red top bands. That's known as a codex style because that's the same type that the Maya used to write their codex. These are books. However, this one does not include any actual writing, but it does include this image on the front. The top white part is a conch shell. And then this other creature is probably some kind of like watery underworld creature. So it's depicting sort of an underworld scene. And so I just feel like that the decorations on that one are particularly interesting. So one of the highlights of the Southeast Asia portion of the exhibit are these three figures. So they're not necessarily connected in that we don't know that they all came from the same location, but they all have kind of similar purposes in that they likely came from a temple setting. So this one is a statue of Hanuman, who is a Hindu monkey deity. He plays a role in the epic of the Ramayana, where he helps Lord Rama and helps save his wife from a kidnapper, and it's a whole very long story, but he's a monkey god. And then we have Garuda, who is sort of a mythological bird man. You can see his beak and his wings. And he, in some types of Hinduism, he's seen as like a companion, a mount for some other gods. But in Bali specifically, he appears more on his own. And so that's one of the way we can trace him to Bali. So these are all Indonesian pieces. Right. The museum is open from Tuesday to Saturday from 10 to 4:30. Admission is free. We also have free parking. The large lot in front of the museum is general parking, so any visitors are welcome to park there. As far as getting to the museum, it is easiest to use Google Maps. The intrinsic map on an iPhone does not have us in the correct location, and I've been fighting them and it doesn't work. So if you use Google Maps, our address is 1315 Carroll Weathers Drive. It will take you right to the museum. If for some reason you get turned around on campus, you can always give me a call and I'll help talk you to the museum. And our phone number is 336-758-5282. Our website is Lam Museum, that's LAMMUSEUM.WFU.edu. And Deb will be sending out some more information so that you can have all of this information for you. Hope to see you soon.
It really was such a fun day to get to go over and record some of these fascinating pieces. And believe me, there's plenty more that certainly there wasn't time for. But let's move on to the reason why most of you probably came today is we want to hear from Dr. Stephen Messier. He is a professor at Wake Forest University. He's going to be talking to us today about osteoarthritis and what it is, what are the risk factors, and maybe most importantly, the latest research on how exercise and diet can help offset, manage pain, and improve your function. So without any further ado, it's my pleasure and treat to get to introduce to you Dr. Messier.
Thank you very much, Deb. Let me see if I can get this going here. Can you all see that?
Yes, it looks great.
Okay, great. And you can hear me?
I can.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the work we've done over 3 decades of diet and exercise, and also talk a little bit, because it's so timely right now with the weight loss medications that are on the market. I thought I'd throw a little bit of that in there too, because some of you may be interested in that as well. So before I get going, I'm just one of many people in our research team, osteoarthritis research team, not only from Wake Forest, but also from Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston, from the University of Sydney in Sydney, Australia, from UNC in Chapel Hill, Boston University, Cleveland Clinic, University of Missouri, East Carolina University, and even across the pond at Erasmus Medical Center in the Netherlands. So we have a big group, and I'm, as I said, just one of many. And I would also like to acknowledge our funding, primarily from the National Institute of Arthritis and Musculoskeletal and Skin Disease, and the Arthritis Foundation, as well as the CDC. Well, it's no secret to all of you that obesity has increased over the last 10 years, with many states reporting between 35 and 40% of all of their adults are afflicted with obesity. The obesity transition model, which I thought was quite interesting, describes the stages of obesity based on economic development. In stage 1 obesity, the populations are poor and often afflicted by war, and because of that, obesity rates are low. In stage 2 obesity, the countries are a little bit richer, but with that, there's an increase in the prevalence of obesity. And then we come to stage 3, which is when obesity rises massively at epidemic proportions. And actually, as you can see here, actually there's a plateau, and that plateau is due to high-income countries. So the plateau occurs when obesity has reached its biological limit. That is, nearly all people who are genetically susceptible to gain excessive weight and display behavior patterns related to obesity have become obese already. Obesity rates have plateaued at very high levels in developed countries, but there is a steady, uninterrupted rise in low and middle income countries. So then the universal trend is obesity escalation rather than slowdown, and it's primarily driven by steep increases in low and middle income populations. So then the logical conclusion is that the prevalence of obesity-related diseases, including the one I'm most concerned with, is osteoarthritis, will continue to rise, and it's driven by the strong impact of socioeconomic determinants of health. David Felsen, one of the giants in osteoarthritis research, has shown that factors that are associated with obesity cause knee osteoarthritis, but those factors are not quite known yet. However, obesity is definitely related to knee osteoarthritis. For example, here you can see that women with severe obesity are 17 times more likely to have knee osteoarthritis than women that have a normal weight. And if getting osteoarthritis doesn't catch your attention, how about premature death? As BMI increases above 30, the risk of death increases in adults ages 25 to 59. So then, obesity increases the risk of many diseases, including osteoarthritis, cancer, stroke, hypertension, diabetes, and such. However, weight loss and physical activity reduce obesity-related morbidity and mortality. In our 8-year follow-up to one of our studies called ADAPT, we found that those that were randomized to the weight loss groups had 50% less mortality than those randomized to non-weight loss groups. But listen, losing weight and keeping it off is not easy. Right? Your body acts in starvation mode. increases feelings of hunger, suppresses satiety, slows metabolic rate, and attempts to defend higher body weights at all costs. So then, how do we treat knee osteoarthritis? Well, the short answer is not very well. The average time spent living with symptomatic knee osteoarthritis is over 26 years. The first 3 years are a regular cocktail of NSAIDs and braces, followed by 2 to 3 years of injections, usually hyaluronic acid or steroids. And then there's this remarkable period of 12 to 13 years where there's no real definite treatment plan, just using analgesics as necessary. Unfortunately, half these people are just biding their time until they get a knee replacement. So the question is, how do we get people who look and walk like this top figure to look and walk like this bottom figure? Well, we know that intensive weight loss and exercise reduces abnormal stress by decreasing knee joint loads and reduces abnormal physiology by lowering inflammation. So those are the two pathways: increased loads and increased inflammation. If you can reduce those two things, what happens is you have less pain and less disability. So those are the two pathways that we have focused on for over 3 decades. And so our focus, as I said, has been on reducing pain with diet and exercise for a long time, since the beginning of 1991. And what we have shown is that we can, with diet and exercise, we can get about a 10 to 11% weight loss over a period of 18 months with no regression towards baseline values. And you can see here from the top, from the darker line, you can see that they reach just about their peak, their 10% weight loss, anywhere between 9 and 12 months. And then what was really interesting is that they maintain that weight loss until 18 months. And you can see that if you have diet without exercise, that the addition of exercise accounts for about 2% more in weight loss. So with people who are older, exercise by itself is not a weight loss intervention. It's a weight maintenance intervention. You have to eat fewer calories. There's just no getting around it, okay? And you can see here that the diet and exercise group in one of our studies, in the black line, decreased their pain by over 50% over an 18-month period, compared to either diet or exercise alone, which did really good. But the combination of diet and exercise is the magic pill, for sure. So then we showed that a 10% weight loss was very effective. So then the next question, of course, especially if you live in the United States, is even more better. And the answer is absolutely. Those who lost greater than 20% of their weight had significantly less pain and better function than those who lost greater than 10% or greater than 5% or less than 5% of their baseline body weight. So more is better, but you get the best bang for your buck at 10% weight loss. So as you can see here then, as weight loss increases, as this line goes from right to your left, as weight loss increases, pain decreases. And we followed these people. Actually, we didn't follow them. We called them back 3.5 years after their intervention was done. So we had no contact with them for 3.5 years after they finished the study. And you can see both the diet in the blue and the diet and exercise in the red still had less pain than they did when they began the study. And this is with no feedback or no intervention for 3.5 years. So they still were doing better than they did before they entered the study 5 years earlier. And their weight was less. Their BMI was less, significantly less than it was 5 years earlier. So there was a lasting effect, in other words. However, in spite of all these really great things, they still have osteoarthritis. There is no cure for osteoarthritis. So that got us thinking, well, what if we use the same interventions, but did it in people who were at risk for osteoarthritis, but didn't have it yet? So maybe prevention is better than treatment. So that's what we are doing now. And it's called, as you would expect, the Osteoarthritis Prevention Study, or TOPS. And what I have now is a little bit of a podcast to help explain what TOPS is.
Hey everyone. Ever imagine yourself a few years down the line and your knees are just not cooperating?
Oh, tell me about it.
That's the reality for so many people dealing with osteoarthritis, especially women. But what if there's a way to dodge that whole scenario? That's what we're diving into today, a potential game changer in osteoarthritis prevention.
We often think of osteoarthritis as an inevitable part of aging,
Mm-hmm.
like something you just have to accept. But this study from Wake Forest University suggests we might have more control than we thought.
Right. We're talking about actually preventing osteoarthritis, not just managing the pain after it takes hold. And they're doing it with a massive study called TOPS, the Osteoarthritis Prevention Study, which is exploring the impact of weight loss and exercise on joint health.
And it's a huge undertaking. We're talking $17.1 million in funding, collaboration across multiple universities and organizations, even internationally.
Now, this study focuses specifically on women aged 50 and older who are overweight but don't yet have osteoarthritis. The idea is to catch those early warning signs and see if lifestyle changes can make a real difference.
Which is key because they're looking at prevention. They need participants who are at risk but haven't yet developed the condition to really understand what interventions might head it off.
Okay, so let's unpack exactly how the study works. They have two groups of women, one focused on diet and guided exercise, and the other a healthy living group who receive education and support around overall well-being.
The comparison between those two groups will be incredibly insightful.
And the diet and exercise group has a pretty ambitious goal, aiming for a 10% weight loss in that first year. They're using a calorie-restricted diet, but with the option of using meal replacements.
And it's not just about cutting calories. They're incorporating twice-weekly cardio and strength training sessions as well. It's a comprehensive approach that addresses both diet and exercise.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Professor Messier, one of the researchers involved, has done previous work showing that every pound of weight loss equals 4 pounds less stress on your knees. Think about that. It paints a very powerful picture of the impact this could have.
If they can demonstrate that these interventions prevent or delay osteoarthritis, it could change how we approach joint health as we age.
It's not just about the numbers on the scale, though, is it? The study also incorporates those crucial lifestyle factors in the healthy living group.
Absolutely. They're getting together regularly for workshops on things like nutrition, stress management, and even building a stronger support system. It's about empowering participants to make positive changes in all aspects of their lives.
You know, it's one thing to lose weight, it's another to keep it off and maintain those healthy habits long term.
And that's where Professor Mahalko, the study's behavioral psychologist, comes in. Her research is exploring how to best support participants in maintaining their weight loss beyond the study.
That's smart, because we know yo-yo dieting can be tough on the body.
Exactly. This study is taking a holistic approach, considering not just the physical changes, but the psychological and behavioral factors that play a role in maintaining a healthy lifestyle.
Totally. Imagine if they prove that making these lifestyle changes can actually help you avoid this debilitating condition. That's huge. It's about shifting the paradigm from treatment to prevention, from reaction to proactivity. Speaking of the study's design, one thing that struck me is that they're following participants for 4 whole years. That's a pretty significant commitment.
It speaks to the rigor of the research. They're not just looking for quick fixes or temporary changes. They want to understand the long-term impact of these interventions on joint health.
Mhm.
And to do that, you need time.
Right.
You need to track those changes over an extended period.
You know, it's funny. We often hear about the importance of investing in our health, but this study makes that idea so much more concrete. It's like, here's this potential opportunity to invest in your future mobility, your ability to stay active and independent as you age. And it's not just about the physical benefits, is it? This study also highlights the power of support and motivation in making healthy changes last. This whole deep dive into osteoarthritis prevention has me thinking, how much control do we really have over how our bodies age? I mean, this study is suggesting we might have more power than we realize.
That's a powerful takeaway. It challenges the assumption that osteoarthritis is inevitable and suggests that proactive steps might rewrite our future.
Now, that's a thought to leave you with. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone. Until next time, stay curious.
Okay, so in spite of all that, there are a lot of us that would rather just, to be honest with you, take a pill. All right. That the idea of diet and exercise long term just sounds too much. All right. Or as it is right now, not a pill, but an injection. So let's talk a little bit about that. And that is these GLP-1s, which are glucagon-like peptides. All right. What they are is they're hormones. GLP-1 is a hormone that regulates appetite. It slows stomach emptying, so it increases how full you feel after eating. It triggers insulin release from the pancreas and blocks the glucagon secretion. So GLP-1, in other words, prevents more glucose from going into your bloodstream. It was initially designed to lower blood sugar in diabetes type 2 patients, but it's now also used for weight management. And it is all the rage right now. And it is really successful. Articles published in very good journals, New England Journal of Medicine and JAMA in particular, have shown on average about a 15 to 16% weight loss over a period of about 68 months compared to placebo. So it is very effective in losing weight. Even people with osteoarthritis, a recent study in New England Journal of Medicine showed the same results as people who did not have osteoarthritis. But it's expensive, all right? The annual cost of diet and exercise is about $3,400. The two main GLP-1, semaglutide, which is $16,200, and tirzepatide, which is $12,700 per year. And insurance pays for some of these, but other insurance does not, right? So that can be expensive. So the big question with GLP-1s right now is what happens after you stop using the drug? Well, the answer is not very optimistic. There's a rapid weight regain with 2/3 of the weight lost regained in 1 year. And nearly all the weight regained is fat mass. So when you lost the weight, you lost fat mass, but you also lost muscle mass. When you regain it, you regain almost all fat. So you're fatter than you were before you began the drug treatment. And there's a worsening of cardiometabolic risk factors, such as A1C and systolic blood pressure. So this highlights that lifelong treatment with GLP-1 will be necessary for weight loss maintenance. A recent study on GLP-1 that came out in JAMA showed that 40% of the participants had diarrhea, 30% had nausea, and 20% were actually vomiting. So my question to you is, would you rather look or feel like one of them or one of them, eating a healthy diet with regular exercise? I think the answer is a no-brainer. Our interventions also are designed to build self-efficacy. What is self-efficacy? It's confidence that you can produce the desired effect. In our case, it is having the confidence that you can walk, that you can exercise, that you can lose weight, and that you can keep it off. And here you can see in one of our studies that diet and exercise group is a significant increase in self-efficacy or confidence in being able to walk for long distances compared to exercise only and diet only. So that our interventions really increase self-efficacy, which build confidence and result in more sustained weight loss. However, GLP-1s do not build self-efficacy, and that's a big problem as well. So what are the limitations of GLP-1s? There's a loss of lean mass. There's a high out-of-pocket costs. There's the apparent need to maintain treatment for a lifetime. And there's an absence of structured psychosocial behavioral component, which likely contributes to the rapid weight regain. Physicians want to help, but they lack the practical means to implement and sustain an exercise and weight loss program in a community-based environment. So the policy relevant and clinically significant question is, how can we adapt these successful weight loss methods to provide a cost-effective intervention for real-world clinical and community settings? The CDC has 4 strategies to meet the chronic disease burden, and one of them is establishment of community conditions to support healthy behaviors. So I have a little video about our TOPS program that is community-based, and I'm going to show that kind of toward the end of my talk here. And for us, we consider this a path forward for everyone.
I mean, I think I've been on every fad diet that exists, and they do set you up for failure. They don't teach you how to live. They don't teach you how to change your relationship with food. They don't make it enjoyable. It's just how quickly can you lose weight. And if you stick to this plan, if you are militant about it and you only do this, you will lose. You will get to your goal weight. Congratulations, goodbye. And then it's over. And you've not taught yourself, the program hasn't helped you do anything in the long term. And then you just search the next one, and you just are on this constant cycle. And it's so defeating, it really is.
So TOPS is a randomized clinical trial. It's 4 years length, so it's a 4-year intervention, which is longer than we've ever done. We usually do 12 months, 18 months, and so this first time is 4 years. So we're with you in the long haul. We're with our participants for 4 years in this health and wellness journey.
That's really the key to long-term and successful behavior change. Building confidence, having compassion, being together on the journey toward their weight loss versus just a prescription that we're writing saying, actually, you need to lose weight and exercise. Good luck, go do that on your own. That's probably what they've been told many times.
I have a friend who's doing Ozempic right now, and she was very tempting. She was very much, Jennifer, you need to do this, you need to get on it, here's how you get your doctor to pay for it. She has lost weight. She's lost the same amount of weight as I've lost, but she's injecting herself every 2 weeks for the rest of her life, and she feels terrible, and she doesn't enjoy food at all. I don't want to not have a relationship with food for the rest of my life. I want to have food in a sustainable, joyful, enjoying way, and also be healthy.
So I've come to think of the GLP-1s as something that we can use for those women together with the behavioral training, with the exercise and with the diet as part of our toolbox, because I think they can become very useful as a jump start or as a tool along the path that, coupled with, and that's the most important part though, from me as a behavioral psychologist, coupled with understanding the behaviors that go along with maintaining that weight loss through diet, maintaining lean mass through exercise.
What was so attractive to me about TOPS is a 4-year study, a 4-year accountability exercise, and it's not just weight loss, it's diet, it's food, it's social, it's all the behavioral stuff that, again, you know about, but until you really figure out how to get it in your life, it's not real.
The TOPS program has changed my mindset on things as far as how I eat, the exercise. It's not too strenuous, it's just right, and I increase weights as I go along. It has just made me more motivated, more energetic, happier about myself. And I just feel like a better person. I feel like I'm exuding more positive energy than I had before.
And that's really powerful when you bring a community of women together like that and watch them help each other, because they love the accountability of seeing someone else that come together on the same day and go exercise together.
And we're up on the machines and we're strengthening and we're encouraging each other, because diet without the strengthening, without the exercise is not sustainable.
I look forward to it, whereas before I didn't. And now I have the energy that when I go home in the afternoon, I can go for a walk with my husband, and I'm more inclined to go and do things on the weekends and walking and hiking, and I didn't have the energy to do that stuff before.
I mean, it's a joy to come here. It's a joy to talk to these undergraduate research assistants. They're like my kids, and they get up on the elliptical and they talk to me, or they take a walk around the track with me, and it's just uplifting.
This program is about maintaining for a lifetime, and that's what I'm so excited about, that I am making progress and it's going to stay with me. It's a lifestyle change.
I feel like it's sticking in with them, and it's sticking with me, and I don't know, I'm very hopeful. I really am.
So if you a plug for our study, if you live near Winston-Salem or Chapel Hill or Boston, Massachusetts, or if you happen to be listening from Sydney, Australia, here's a phone number to call, or you can email us at tops@wfu.edu. Thank you all very much.
Well, and thank you, Dr. Messier. We're so grateful for you to have shared this valuable information with us. I don't know if there's any questions. We are about at time, but I will be sending out a wealth of information along with Dr. Messier's slides, so that you'll have those as reference points. But I feel like doing everything we can. The name of this series is Aging Well, and this is just one more piece in that toolbox that we can all use for aging our best. So it looks like, we don't have any questions right now. So what we can do is, you certainly have my contact information. If you watch this again and think of anything, just shoot me an email and I will get it over to Dr. Messier and we will get you some answers. But until next month, until April 8th, get out, have fun, keep us healthy, and do everything we can to age well. We'll see you next month. Thanks, guys.